We are talking the worst fights in the history of boxing. What fight can you think of where you say, yeah, this fight was horrible?
Well, first I'm going to start with one John Ruiz. And I'm not going to pick a particular fight. I want to pick every fight he ever had from grade school until he finally retired. He could fight Jack Bauer and Chuck Norris, and they'd be horrible fights. He's arguably the most boring boxer of all time. A waste of skin. A harbinger of oxygen. I'm glad he has all of his faculties and made some money, but I wish I never saw him fight. I will never get those moments of my life back. In fact, I think John Ruiz owes me and owes the boxing public not an apology. He needs to just travel the country watching us do nothing. Like he needs to know what it's like. He needs to come to my job and watch me have a meeting and just sit there and do nothing and stare at the wall. Count staples on the floor for all I care. That dude is arguably the least entertaining fighter of all time. I would rather watch the Kardashians, mixed with Paris Hilton on a road trip on a cruise ship that flips upside down. Dude, I despise John Ruiz. But to a specific fight, I'm going to go with, sorry, factoid, St. Louis's own Devon Alexander. He looks like smoked out Evander Holyfield, and he fought Timothy Head Games Bradley. And he fought in, I'll give you a little bit of backstory. I live in Arizona. So if you've ordered a shirt and you're on the East Coast, relax. I'm halfway across the country. It'll be there. But my sister, who I'm very close with, isn't a huge boxing fan. But so I hooked her up with some good seats for the fight because it's at the Pontiac Silverdome. She lives maybe 15 minutes from there in a city that's in between Detroit and Pontiac. So the Silverdome is where the Lions played for years, where the Pistons used to play in playoff games. But this was like a decade and a half ago. The Silverdome has been dormant forever. So like if you live in LA, it's like the LA Coliseum. Like in every major city, there's that old arena. And I didn't know the Silverdome was still standing. So when they announced the fight was going to be there, I was like, what? You got to remember that the Silverdome holds 80,000 people for football. So for a fight, I think WrestleMania 3 was there, and no, that's not a sport. It's guys on steroids who tan. I don't care what fact rest. So you have this huge gaping arena. You have two fighters who aren't from there with little fan base, and they fight. And that fight was so hyped, as an important fight. Two guys on the rise, two American fighters. They're undefeated. This fight has to happen. This is what boxing's about. The best fight's the best. The fight was absolute runny White Castle shit. Okay, it was shit. It was vomit mixed with shit, mixed with vomit, mixed with shit. It was shake with extra onions. The fight was horrible, despicable, atrocious. Any adjective you can come up with, any word Jesse Jackson at E40 can create, that's what this fight was. It was the fucking worst fight I've ever seen in my life. And it ended fittingly ended on a headbutt by Timothy Bradley, who headbutts everyone, okay? He was more head than Kareem Steffens. The problem is he headbutted this side of Alexander's head, and Alexander held this side. So not only did the fight end on a headbutt, which you could see coming from an orthodox/southpaw fighter with two guys that always headbutt, but Alexander held the wrong sides of his head. The fight was horrible. It was atrocious. The undercard sucked. My sister, my dear sister, Charlotte Williams, now hates boxing and refuses to ever go to a fight again. He basically takes site fees and puts fights in the middle of obscure places, regardless of if there's any geographical relevance or ticket sales, because he already makes his money. The only guy that wears more sweatsuits than Gary Shaw is Ishe Smith, okay? And I don't want to get off topic, but if Ishe Smith changes his clothes less often than Batman, okay? Dude has one outfit. He thinks he's a superhero. He wore a TMT hat last week on Showtime that I think caused the Showtime signal to go out. It had like metallic red rubies on the hat. It said TMT. Ishe, man, if you're watching this, brother, I'm glad for your success. I'm glad, you're a man of Christ and all that crap, but dude, get off Floyd's dick, man. Buy some blue jeans. Wear some slacks, brother. You don't need to be wearing no TMT suit all day, every night. Like, it's unreal. Seriously. I've seen homeless people who change their clothes more often. Robert Guerrero's dad thinks you need to change your clothes, okay? And that guy wore one shirt for a month and a half, okay? Seriously, Ishe, change your damn clothes. Jay-Z had a song called Change Clothes and Go. Dude, you should have that on repeat, okay?
2009, you got Manny Pacquiao versus Josh Grandmaster Clottey. It's like the first fight in Dallas, Texas, at the new Dallas, the Cowboys Stadium there with Jerry Jones, big-time venue. And it was a fight, I think, coming in where a lot of fans thought, maybe Josh Clottey had an opportunity maybe to upset the apple cart a little bit against Manny Pacquiao. And it was just, it was a terrible fight for all 12 rounds. Pacquiao completely dominated Clottey. Clottey, stayed in his shell defense and got hit time after time after time after time. And it was just a boring, predictable fight. He didn't bring anything to the table, and Manny Pacquiao was going to dominate him over 12 rounds. So for me, that's definitely one of the worst fights I've seen. It was so built up as a guy who made an opportunity. Because you've seen Josh Clottey in there against some pretty tough competition. You see him in there against a guy like Margarito, and he fought a guy like Margarito some years before. And in the Margarito fight, Clottey, if I'm not mistaken, I think broke one, like maybe both his hands, and was still in the fight against Margarito. I'm going with Margarito. I hear you, DStyle. I hear you. I'm going though against Clottey. I'm going Clottey against Manny Pacquiao in 2009. I think it was a garbage fight. It's one that Pacquiao won easily, and Josh Clottey embarrassed, I think, himself, and he put a lot of fight fans who paid for that pay-per-view were sad because they didn't get anything for their money for 12 rounds. Josh Clottey didn't bring anything, and now when you look at it in 2013, where's Josh Clottey? That was the last fight that Josh Clottey had that people would say, oh wow, we remember Joshua Clottey. To this day, after that fight, he hasn't done anything, and Manny Pacquiao is still a star in boxing. So for me, Josh Clottey, Manny Pacquiao 2009 stands out as one of the worst fights I've seen, at least in recent memory.
Who, by the way, I think is an exciting fighter, but against Sergio Mora.
2 pounds. No?
Was that?
Go ahead. I thought we were going 2 rounds. I saved it, but go ahead.
Oh, no. Well, that's why I said I'm stealing it from you. I'm stealing it. No, but I'll tell you what, though. That fight was horrible, and I just want to follow up with the Jim Lampley thing, because Jim Lampley was just trying so hard to sell the fight, and it was at a point where, dude, just shut up, This is why you come see Mosley fight. Mosley always comes to fight. Like, shit, relax, right? All that ass-kissing did not stop Mosley from going to Showtime and fighting Pacquiao. Are damn good editors. Like, they're real good at what they do. They made him look like damn exciting. Like, damn, Sergio Mora's the next up-and-coming guy. I can't wait to see him. And to this day, it's frustrating to watch him fight. It's just a frustrating thing. He holds too much for me. He holds way too much. Horrible fight.
Horrible, dreadful. I totally
And it was on pay-per-view, too. They had the audacity to tell us that this is a pay-per-view fight.
Made it even worse.
I was going to say is because HBO turned the fight down. Now, you got to remember where Shane was, too, okay? Because remember where Shane was. He takes the Margarito fight when no one, wanted to fight Margarito, okay? Everyone, myself included, all expects Shane to get pummeled. So obviously, we know what happens. Margarito has some stuff in his glove. Shane goes out there and absolutely, in a surprise, virtuoso performance, just dismantles Margarito, okay? Had his little rat tail flopping in the wind. Dude. No, but seriously, though, because you guys remember when, Margarito was regarded as the most feared man in sport. Like, everyone said Floyd ducked him, his chin was unbreakable. And from round 1, Mosley was landing rights. And by, round 9 or whatever, he basically folded up like a 10 in his corner. Freestyling this, I don't have time to look up the years, and I know they fought more than once. But It was the fight where Lennox Lewis's shorts were over his nipples. And he
never that high.
Dude. His shorts made Urkel look like one of these ignorant rappers. You know what I'm saying? The joint was up here, dude. Literally. And the fight was horrible. Holyfield grappled like he was aiming, like really? Holyfield looked like an MMA fighter in that fight. He just got inside. He couldn't hurt Lennox. Lennox tried to let his hands go, but all Holyfield did was smother him. The fight was horrible. I watched it in Upland, California with a couple of my roommates. We actually at his mom's house, this is back when people still had fight parties. I don't know if they still do now, because since I'm on the West Coast, I'm able to go to most of the fights in Vegas, or we were all so young and broke, none of us could afford to get the fight by ourselves, so everyone throws in $5. But it was horrible. No one, dude, imagine a fight party of 20 people, and the TV is there, everyone's like this. Yeah, okay. Everyone, guys, no one's watching the fight. No one is watching the fight like this, dude. You know what I'm saying?
Fights here. Here's one. I don't know if you guys remember this. This one was hyped up. It was hyped up as the first unification fight in almost a decade or whatever. Wladimir Klitschko versus Sultan Ibragimov. All right. This fight was absolutely atrocious. Ibragimov, who's Russian, by the way, and it was actually in some fun fights. It was kind of surprising. Comes out to Every Day I'm Hustling. Okay, which and I don't know who picked that song from. It's probably a promoter's idea, right? And I think, all right, so you might feel a little gangster, okay, And then you got Wladimir Klitschko coming out to the Red Hot Chili Peppers, like always, okay. And I remember watching this fight with my brother, and my brother does not really watch boxing that much. All right, he'll watch it once in a while, but but he was like, man, this guy looks like Ivan Drago. Like, yeah, all right, And he kind of does, he doesn't look like him, like the face, but just the size of him, you know what I mean? And here starts the fight, and I swear to God, it was the most horrible fight I've ever seen. Ibragimov has his back, okay, to Klitschko the whole fight, right? Trying to paw out, and all you saw was Klitschko hitting his glove, for 5 straight rounds, and landing an occasional jab. It had to be the most bizarre fight I've ever seen in heavyweight history. I'll never forget Bert Sugar's rant after that fight. Okay, and the funniest part was after the fight, you know, Klitschko. You know how Merchant gives like guys like Floyd a hard time for having a boring fight? Like he was like praising Wladimir Klitschko. All right, just praising him and just blaming and bragging him off. It was both their faults, in my opinion. Horrible fight. Speaking of Wladimir Klitschko, although it was not as bad, okay, because of the expectations, like people need to understand this real quick. Mayweather versus Pacquiao may have been the biggest fight ever in pay-per-view history in the United States. Haye versus Klitschko around the world was like a big fight, okay? Like I remember them talking about 200 and some odd countries are broadcasting this fight.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like more people
rainstorm.
more people worldwide probably watch Haye versus Klitschko than the Super Bowl. Think about that, okay? It was a hyped up fight. And Haye was saying he was going to kill Klitschko, put him on a stretcher, and he was going to get ridden off in an ambulance.
Totally.
All right? It was totally a bad fight. No pun intended. Or maybe it was. Hell, what do you remember about that fight, man? Haye Klitschko.
I remember, just like you're saying, like how big it was. I mean, the face-off with Max Kellerman, you know, David Haye, he was just talking ridiculous trash, and I'll be honest with you, I fell for it. I usually don't, you know, because I'm just so cynical, I guess, but maybe it's his British accent, you know, I don't know, maybe it's his 1988 prison braids, I have no idea. But I fell for it. He was talking crazy. Klitschko, for once, was showing a personality, like taking it personal, like he really hated David Haye. So I'm like, yo, they're fighting outside. Like you said, the Klitschko's are beyond superstars. I've actually been to Germany, and I was in Frankfurt, and that dude is a great city. And it's funny because one of the guys I was meeting with, he's like, yo, like, you're like really minority here, huh? I was like, yeah, I mean, you know, I can go to the suburbs, man. I was used to that. Dude, Germany, holy crap, I mean, dude, that place, I mean, it's whiter than, you know, Miley Cyrus's ass, dude. It's all white, and like not just white, like big, tall German people. So, D-Style, you wouldn't be home there either. But no, so anyway, but what I was gonna say is like their stars there, like our mainstream sports stars are here. Like an Aaron Rodgers is here, or Peyton Manning. You know, you always turn on your TV and see him. You know, like
versus Ray Austin. I know you love that fight, Hill.
Oh, God, we discussed this. Dude, Ray Austin, come on, man. Ray Austin, he looks like an out-of-work, like, rhythm and blues singer. I hate that guy.
That fight, fellas, was live from right here in St. Louis, Missouri. I believe that was at the Family Arena in St. Charles. I was there. I was live for the fight. And I want to say I was getting drinks. I actually met Darren Rice. That's Rice STL on Twitter. That fight, so we were out getting drinks and kicking it, man. Definitely not an exciting fight. Bernard Stavern is a guy, maybe, you know, in some other fights, maybe he looked good against Chris Arreola. That wasn't a bad fight. But the fight against Ray Austin was definitely, you know,
horrible. Hey, real fast. Back to it. Why are so many boring fights happening either A, in St. Louis or involve a St. Louis fighter? I think that needs to be addressed. And B, also Chad Dawson. I'm not sure if I've really touched on him. The reason why Chad's been in so many boring fights to me is because Chad is a top 10 talent. You know, I'm not really into pound for pound list, but if you listed the top 200 fighters in the world, just off physical attributes, Chad's in the top 10. I mean, really, there's probably only 4 or 5 guys who would clearly say are more physically gifted than him. Yeah. Chad has all the attributes to be an elite world champion fighter. And he's been in some good fights. Yeah. But my Lord, this dude will not let his hands go. And, like, that's what drives me nuts. Like, that's what I'm saying about he's a YouTube fighter. Like, if I never see him fight again, I'm happy. His last fight, that was the most exciting fight in years. And dude didn't land a punch. He got caught. He was knocked out. His wife walks in the ring with red hair. I was like, hello? She had a red weave. Dude, she looked like Nicki Minaj. I was like, what are you doing?
To answer your question, Hale, about St. Louis and why you see so many things going on here, the answer to that is no comment. And to talk about Chad Dawson, the answer there, I mean, you know, I agree with the other 10%, man. Chad Dawson definitely, in terms of athletic ability, definitely one of the top guys out there. You know, I asked his former trainer, Vince, I think John Scully on Twitter. I said, you know, what's up with Chad? I mean, you know, would you consider training this guy again? He was like, man, he's just stuck in his ways. This is the way he wants to be. When I watch Chad Dawson, and I'm a fan, I have been for a little while, there's something about Chad Dawson that just screams, I'm so good athletically that I don't put in the extra time. I don't put in the extra work.
You know, fighters and saying they quit and they're soft and they're pussies, those guys always kill me, okay? It takes a special breed of mammal to fight for a living. I mean, whether it's UFC, MMA, being a bouncer even. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's got to be something different in you that loves exchanging flesh. So,
pause.
Yeah, super pause. So I would never say that Chad's like soft or anything, but I'm just not sure that like Chad's wired to be a fighter. For instance, you could compare Chad Dawson to like a Baron Davis. Like Baron Davis is a guy that's always overweight, extremely talented, would have flashes of brilliance followed by moments of just I don't give a shit. And
people don't like him. People don't like Andre Berto, and there's a lot of reasons why, but never in a boring fight.
You know why? Guys with power and no defense can't be in a boring fight.
Cintron versus Paul Williams.
Ooh, hold on.
No comment.
No. Yes. First of all, Paul Williams, we're still praying for you. Hopefully you walk one day.
Yes.
Kermit Cintron. I just brought this up on Twitter a week ago. I will never forget this. This dude drove out of the ring, okay? And look, there's 4 ropes. There's 4 ropes. And this dude avoided them like they were laced with nitroglycerin. I mean, he split the ropes. No, like, think about that for a second. It's like avoiding a 8-foot wall guardrail. Like, he literally went the only place he could. It was like Lee Harvey Oswald shot him with his magic bullet theory, okay? And so he avoided. Then he's like banging on the ambulance. Dude, it was one of the most bizarre moments ever. And here's what's nuts. The fight sucked, and he actually landed the only 2 meaningful punches of the fight. And then he dies off the ring. Dude, one of the craziest moments in sports history. I've never seen a guy catapult himself. I mean, dude, seriously, he defied gravity, okay? He got a 7 from the Russian judge. The dude cleared.
916 Chris on Twitter mentions Lewis versus Akiwande. So boring, the ref stopped it. I can't.
Great call by 916 Chris, man. Always.
Say every MMA fight I've watched would be in this list. Dude, I understand the strikers like maybe Diaz or a few of them cats, but as soon as they get on the ground and start having dry gay sex, I'm out.
DStyle, shut it down. Thanks for tuning in.
No?
You could think of
Mark Ortega against Gabe Montoya because the fight never happened. That sucks. I say every Twitter beef between boxing writers are the most boring fights ever.
It's a joke. It's a joke, man. It's a total joke.
Yeah.
Let the guy look. You guys can stick to pen and paper, keyboards. Just let the fighters fight.
In the Lewis fight, like that's what you saw. Like he was so frustrated, he started crying.
Oliver McCall, was that McCall?
Yeah. The dude was crying, and I never seen something like that.
No crying in boxing, brother. No crying in boxing.
He started crying though. Like it caught Lewis off guard. Like whoa.
Yeah, and
elite superstar. Dude was buying tigers, you know what I'm saying, and taking them to strip clubs. And like you said, Michael Spinks was the linear champion, had the pedigree, and yet again another St. Louis fighter right in the mix of one of the most boring fights of all time. I do like St. Louis, by the way. Any place that makes Detroit look clean, I'm a fan of. But my lord, you guys have got some of the worst fights ever.
At least it wasn't in St. Louis, man. Let's just move on. DStyle, thanks for having me, man, on the video. Let's go ahead and move on. Too many shots in St. Louis.
One last thing on that. I mean, any city that's biggest tourist attraction is an arch. I mean, it's half an.
These are unnecessary shots. DStyle, please take control of your program. Shut hell down, man. This is unnecessary.
And in closing,
yes,
this is an old school fight, and I'm only mentioning this because they made a movie about it. Okay, Cinderella Man, which is a good story,
very good.
But Bayer versus Braddock was not that exciting. Okay, they did a better job than the contender did with Mora. All right, that fight was. I watch it, and people are gonna say, "Wow, it's black and white film." I've watched a lot of fights on black and white film. I recommend Jersey Joe Walcott versus Joe Louis to anybody. By the way, one of the best fights ever, both of them. But that fight was atrocious. There was a lot of holding. You not a pleasing fight at all to watch. But that's it. Oh, by the way, why did they take our script for Rocky 7? Like what was wrong with our script?
Dude, we had a hit. I mean, Hollywood needs to get at us. Some of these executives, need to get on Google Chat. They need to get on YouTube. Our script was Oscars, Emmys, Tonys. Like I told you guys off air, my
T-shirt is a T-shirt to get. All right, right here.
Hottest one in the game, right there. Boxing ain't dead. The sweet science, 17.3 to the current, baby.
Marcus of Queensberry Rules, 1943, baby. There you go.
Pick it up.